In this video, we'll take a look at the electrical symbols handout, as well as the electrical power and lighting drawings. All right, so first on the electrical symbols, you'll have different types of light fixtures. Dimensions will vary. So typically are either a 2x2 or a 2x4 troffer, and that's just represented by a square. And usually you'd have a tag here indicating back to a schedule what light fixture it was. Then you have a pendant light fixture. So these pendant light fixtures are light fixtures that hang from a chain or a rod. Sizes and shapes will vary. This symbol right here is an exit light. So these denote like those flat exit signs that you see. The shaded areas denote which direction the exit face is. So if you see this on a drawing, you'll know that looking from this direction, you should see the word exit. And this one right here would be like a double-sided exit, so you'd be able to see exit on both sides, and it would have an arrow pointing to the direction of a staircase or a door. Next, we have a switch. So this is a light switch. There's a bunch of different types of light switches: dimming, occupancy, sensors. So the S will denote a switch, and then there will be a tag postscript that will denote what type of a switch it is. And then these two symbols, these are the receptacles. So this is your standard duplex receptacle. So that's what you'll mostly see in your house, the plug, the receptacle with the two plugs. And this one is a quad, so you'll have the receptacle that's twice as big as a duplex and has 4 plugs on it. This is the symbol for a disconnect switch. So a disconnect switch, remember, is how you turn off power to a piece of equipment. Here's a transformer. So transformers are how you either reduce or increase voltages. This F in a box, this is a fire alarm pull station. So remember, this is one of the fire alarm initiating devices that you can pull and manually start a fire alarm. This square with the AV, this is the audio visual alarm that flashes and strobes and sounds an alarm when active. So that would be one of your notification devices. This one is a fire alarm, just visual only, so it's only a flash. So that's also a notification device. This symbol right here, this will be, these are called tick marks. Tick marks denote basically how many wires and types of wires are run for a circuit. In this instance, this is 1 hot, that's a short, 1 neutral, and 1 ground wire. The ground is the long with a leg, the long line with a leg. All right, so this is actually called a home run for the circuit. So any device on the same voltages that are wired together will have a home run, and then have a tag right here that indicates what panel name. So this is going back to panel HA, and it is in the first space of the panel. And then you have your tick marks here that denote how many wires are on this home run. We're going to look at the electrical drawings now. You'll notice that we have our outlets. This right here, this is a floor outlet quad with a data, so you plug in network under in the floor, go into another outlet, and then you have your home run, and this is going back to LA1. Now, if we look at our panel board schedule, notice that it kind of looks like so think about the panel board at your house. You have 2 rows of switches, one on the left and one on the right. This is what this is indicating. So this is panel LA and circuit 1. So we're looking at receptacles in 701. So this is conference 701, receptacles LA1. We'll also have to show the electrical connections to the mechanical equipment. So we'll actually need to import our mechanical equipment from our mechanical new plan. And then depending on the voltages, you'll either have a disconnect switch, or even if it's a smaller voltage, single phase, you can run basically a heavy duty light switch as a disconnect switch. So let's take a look at the power first. So I have these blocks set up here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to create a palette so that we can easily insert these blocks and rotate them at the same time. So in your Manage tab, you'll have tool palettes right here. So I'm going to turn my tool palettes on. So mine's going to look a little different than yours because I have mine set up for work. You, by default, will have a ton of different default palettes from Autodesk, but we're going to create a new one, so the process will be the same. So I'm just going to right-click. So I'll hit Tool Palettes. That'll pull up your Customize. I'm going to right-click on this left-hand side, and I'm going to say New Palette. And I'm going to call this one so Arc 2352, this class, Elect. And this is just because, you can really do this for any class that you find yourself using blocks over and over again. Makes it really handy. All right, so mine is going to be docked over here on the right-hand side. Yours may be left or just free-floating. So I'm going to drop some of these. I'm going to drop some of these blocks onto this palette that I know I'm going to be inserting and rotating a lot. So these lights, I can just copy and paste because because I'm not really going to be rotating these. But I know these switches I will be placing on these walls and need to rotate, so they sit on the wall correctly. So to do that, first you want to make sure you have your drawing saved. That's if you don't have it saved, if you haven't saved recently, it'll give you a warning. Then I'm going to select the block, and then you want to grab any part of the block that is not this point. So I'm going to click and drag this onto my palette. You see that black line there? That means that it recognizes it and that it will add it in here. All right, so I'm going to add a couple of these switches. Oh, that's just the same switch again. Definitely plugs, because those will need to be rotated with the walls. Quads. Definitely the tick marks, because we'll need to rotate those to match our arcs and the arrowheads. So the tick marks, the arrowhead, and the arc, these will make the home run. And then switch leg, that's for lighting. All right, so say that I want to drop an outlet on this north wall right here. Select outlet, and then click on the wall, so it places the block, but it didn't rotate it. So what you want to do is for each of these blocks, you will need to right click on it, do properties, and then there is an option here, prompt for rotation, and I'm going to say yes. And what this will do, this will let me select let's do an outlet, prompt for rotation, yes. All right, so now when I do an outlet, I can drop it on the wall, and now I can rotate it to whichever way I need. And I have this set up to, if you have either your O-snap-on or ortho, you can just snap it to the wall and we'll make it the correct direction. So outlet, let's put one down here. All right, and just wires, we're just going to use an arc. All right, so now let's make a home run for this. So I will just make a home run like that. And then each home run needs a tick mark. I'm just going to drop it. Midpoint's fine. Turn off ortho. And the way I have this set up is that if you have your O-snap on, and I usually like to keep all of my O-snaps on, but nearest will basically snap it to, just if you're hovering over any line. All right, and then arrowhead. All right, and for the tag, we can just use this text as long as it's just any em text, 9 inches is fine. Make sure your tags are on eText. Okay, so that's going to be how you go through and do all of your power. You'll want to throw data in there too. And if you do this transformer, the actual block is just the inside part here. So you just want to, make sure you select the block and then grab the don't grab the point here. The point is if you were going to try to move this block around. All right, so let's go grab the mechanical equipment that we'll need to power. And go and grab the tags because we do want the units tagged on the electrical plan. Make sure you get the fan coil unit right here. And make sure you go back and get the plumbing, the hot water heater as well, and paste that in. All right, so get these last two here. And once again, we're going to use copy with base point to make sure all this aligns. So Control Shift C. Just use the end of the grid here. End of the grid. So you could just leave the blocks on the layers that they're on. These VAVs won't turn dash just because of how small these lines are. Basically, these two are too small to inherit these dashes. Let's actually rotate this guy down a little. All right, so you will continue through and put in your electrical connections to a disconnect switch here. And all this E in the circle represents is that you have wires that are connecting to a piece of equipment. So anywhere, so for any piece that's not a plug or anything like that, we'll usually show an electrical connection. Here's one for the water heater, FCUs, VAVs. All right, and then once you get done matching the red line, we'll look at the lighting. So the lighting, once again, you want to use the symbols over here or in your tool palette. So you have your 2x2s here. So these are 2x2 troffers. On this plan, you'll notice that you have dashed lines in conjunction with solid lines over here. So let's take a look at this conference room. You have these 2x2 troffers that are type A being controlled by this occupancy switch, and everything that is connected via these dashed lines, this is being controlled by this controller right here. And then if you see a solid line jump between the two, that's just a straight power connection and doesn't carry any sort of controls. So we know that this is all on one circuit, but if we look at these dash lines and it goes to this OS right here, so everything connected by these dash lines, this is all on this one switch. Then you get to this light and you have two just power jumpers. So all of this stuff is controlled by this switch. Then you go into this office and this is controlling these two lights, power, switch leg. So it's essentially how we differentiate between switching and being powered on the same circuit. So notice that there is only one home run in this whole office. LED light fixtures are really, really efficient nowadays. You can put a whole bunch on one circuit. So all of these go to HA1. And if we look at our handout over here, HA1 is lighting. All right, so you will go through and you'll add your lights, your switches, your wires, your fire alarm equipment, and your exit signs. And then once you have the power and the lighting done, let's take a look at the schedules. So I gave you the schedule set up. Usually you'll have a template for your schedules. You won't ever have to draw these from scratch. So looking at the schedules, you will go through and match the red line. So LA existing, we'll go through and say receptacles 701. Receptacles 700. So you'll go through and you'll do your descriptions. And do your trip. So this is basically the size of the breaker. So it's a 20 amp breaker, single pole. And then you'll do your load here. So 720, 20. And so let me show you that when you have just straight text and not M text. So text, remember, is like the single line text. So if you come in here and you enter, it doesn't return to a new line. It's only single line. This can have its advantages in the fact that you could mass change these all at once. So we know that circuit 1 through 27 are all going to be 20 amp single pole. So to quickly do this, we can just go and select 1 through 27 right here. And here in contents, you can type here 20 amp, and it'll change everything all at once. And then these are all single pole, so contents 1 there. Also, notice that you have spaces from, so 20, you have spares from 19 to 27. So 19 to 27, these are spare. And then 29 through 41 are spaces. So you can really do a large chunk of editing of this single line text this way. All right, and then lastly, we have a light fixture schedule. So we have your type mark A, then it gives you Lithonia, your model number, your lamp, voltage, all the information. And this stuff right here links up directly with the lighting, the light sheet here. So you see A is a 2x2 fixture. A is a 2x2 fixture. And then this is the part number for the light fixture. And then B's are LD and 6s, so these are can down lights, 6-inch can down lights. Then you have this C that is a pendant light. And lastly, X1, these are your exit lights. All right, so once you get the power, lighting, and schedules done, you are done with the electrical floor plans.